What's up, YouTube? It's Nita B, and welcome to my channel, Inside the Celebrity. I'm going to be telling you all kinds of unknown and little known facts about your favorite singers, dancers, actors, comedians, celebrities of today and yesteryear. But before I get started, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button so you'll be notified every time I post a new video. Now, let's get started. Now, 2001 was a real trying, confusing, and sometimes sad year for me. I found out that I was pregnant with my third son in March of that year. We had the tragedy of 9/11, and in December of that year, I lost my dad. And even though I didn't know her or had any ties to her whatsoever, I'm going to be talking about the death of Aaliyah. Not so much of her being dead, but the way she died. Some say that it was a tragic accident, and some say that it was murder. Um, Aaliyah was in the process of filming her new video and last project that she'd work on, her Rock the Boat video. She was managed by her uncle, Barry Hankerson, and I bring him up because he plays a very important role in this story. Barry Hankerson, Aaliyah's uncle, took out a $90 million insurance policy right before she got ready to film the video. And that's going to be really important. Now, Hype Williams was the director of this video, and even though they had everything that they needed, he changed his mind and decided that they should go to the Bahamas for a more prettier aesthetic for the video. And Aaliyah and her crew, they got on, and I'm going to go ahead and name the crew members that were with her just out of respect. You know, we had her bodyguard, Scott Gallen. We had her makeup artist, Christopher Maldonado. We had her hairstylist, Eric Foreman. Black Ground Records employees, Douglas Klatt, and her another employee, Gina Smith, all work with me. We had Aaliyah's family friend, Keith Wallace, and also we had Anthony Dodd, who was a friend of Eric Foreman. Now, all of them had a good time. I mean, they were in the Bahamas, they were living it up. I mean, they were laughing, playing, and they even finished the video a day early. And while mostly everyone wanted to go ahead and stay in the Bahamas because it was the Bahamas, Aaliyah was in a hurry to get back to Florida so that she can finish some projects she was working on and to get back to her boyfriend at the time, which was Damon Dash. The weird thing about that is that when they arrived in the Bahamas, they were in a very nice plane or private jet. Aaliyah's uncle, Barry Hankerson, owned a fleet of aircraft, and it was called Black Hawk Airlines. And Aaliyah and her crew, they arrived in a very nice Cessna 404, which was big enough to accommodate everyone. And after filming the video, like I said, Aaliyah wanted to go home. So her and her crew, which are the people that I named, please forgive me because I don't know them personally, but they are near and dear to their families. Um, they decided to leave. And the weird thing about that was Aaliyah was very skeptical and scared of small planes. So with her being as big of an artist that she is, Aaliyah, when they got ready to go, they were in a plane that was, 25 plus years old, and it was twice as small as the plane that they got on. And what I think is really, really slimy is that the artist Lenny Kravitz, he actually loaned and sent Aaliyah his private jet for her comfort, but that jet was taken by, guess what, by the producer, Hype Williams. He took Aaliyah's jet. So, like I said, they got ready to go, and when Aaliyah saw this plane, it was a lot smaller and over 25 years old. And she was supposedly on the phone with her boyfriend at the time, Damon Dash, saying that she did not like this plane. She didn't want to get on it. And Aaliyah was allegedly given a pill to help her relax, And the plane arrived almost an hour late. The plane didn't arrive until 6:40. Let me go ahead and say this. The pilot of the plane was hired by Barry Hankerson's company, Black Hawk Airlines, and Luis Morales, who was the pilot, was 30 years old, and he had a really, really sketchy past. He was known to lie about how many flight hours training that he had. He lied about his drug and alcohol abuse. But because Black Hawk was kind of shady already, they went ahead and hired Luis Morales, even though he had all those um, warnings and those red flags on his record. And he was hired by Black Hawk just 2 days before he went to pick up Aaliyah and her crew. So, like I was saying, the plane arrived almost an hour late. The plane arrived at 6:40, and everyone got on board. And I'm not going to be biased or unbiased towards Mr. Morales because he did warn Aaliyah and her crew that the plane was going to be way too heavy. There was 8 of them, and her bodyguard, Scott Gallen, he was a big man. He weighed well over 300 pounds himself. And there was another person in the crew, I believe, was Eric Foreman, because he was, no, he was a big guy as well. So they were supposedly seated at the back. So when Luis Morales told them, hey, the plane is way too heavy, you have to take some of this off, they insisted, Aaliyah's crew insisted that he just hush up and just fly the plane. So he was overruled and he let them fly anyway. So the plane was overweight by 720 pounds plus the weight on the plane. So that was a big red flag. So when they got ready to go, everyone boarded the plane and everything looked like it was going to be okay. Onlookers and employees of the airport in the Bahamas, they reported and witnessed that the plane getting on the runway, taking off, but only getting about 60 to 100 feet up in the air. The plane barely got in the air, but when they took off, the plane reached about 60 to 100 feet, and it was reported that the plane kind of veered to the left, straightened up, went to the right, and then went down just past the end of the runway. And employees of the airport, they ran and some drove. They weren't that far from the landing strip, so they went driving and running, and the plane had caught fire. And unfortunately, everyone passed, or did they? Surprisingly, in this fiery plane crash that happened just after takeoff, there was a survivor. There was actually a survivor. Aaliyah's bodyguard, Scott Gallen, he was seen at the right side of the plane, and he was hurt, but he had some cuts and scratches on him. But amazingly, he survived. And when they were taking the bodies and wrapping, getting them ready for burial, they went to Mr. Gallen and they said, "Oh my God, what happened? What happened?" And he had internal injuries. And when asked what happened, Scott Gallen reportedly, his first words were, "Man, I need a drink," because he had been through hell. And because the paramedics said that because they don't know of the internal injuries that Mr. Gallen had, that he couldn't have anything. So when he told what happened, it was like I said. He said, well, the plane took off and they were fine. And the plane went, started turning to the left a little bit, and it straightened up and then eventually nosedived to the left and caught fire at the end of the strip. And that's how I know that's exactly what he said what happened. And unfortunately, Mr. Gallen was he had very strong internal injuries. So he died not too long after they took him from the crash. And there were actually not one, but two other people who actually survived that crash. Um, Mr. Eric Foreman, Aaliyah's hairstylist, he survived the crash, but all he was reportedly able to do was just scream in agony because of the plane. I mean, the plane caught fire, and anything that goes up and comes down, you're gonna be in excruciating pain. So, Mr. Foreman, he survived for a while, and he actually died hours later in the hospital. And this is a whopper. The pilot, Luis Morales, he survived, but he was nonverbal and he died on his way en route to the hospital in the Bahamas. So by now, everyone in the world has heard the rumors that Aaliyah and her crew had been killed in this horrific crash. And there are pictures online of the rescuers getting the bodies and getting the luggage ready to send back to the States. And another side note that really made me upset was that me being upset, that has nothing to do with them, and nobody cares what I say because I have no relevance in that whatsoever. But the funeral home there in the Bahamas who prepared the bodies, um, actually, when they prepared Aaliyah's body and were getting ready to send her back to the States, um, they were actually left with a $68,000 bill for preparing Aaliyah's body and bringing her back to the States. Now, remember I said at the beginning that Aaliyah's uncle, Barry Hankerson, took out a $90 million insurance policy and took no time to cash out on that. Aaliyah was given the funeral of royalty. She had a beautiful glass horse and carriage, and of course it was attended by celebrities. It was a funeral for the stars. Of course it was closed casket, and I actually read the autopsy report, and Aaliyah died of a weak heart. Her body went in shock, and she died of a weak heart and head injuries. So of course she had a closed casket, and that's about the end of my story. When I found that information out, I thought that it was very amazing that anyone would survive a fiery crash like that. And Scott Gallen being a hero in my eyes because he was concerned about Aaliyah. If I didn't say that, he was very concerned about Aaliyah. So after he said that he needed a drink, his next words were reported, "How's Aaliyah? Where's Aaliyah?" And then they asked him what happened. But it's a tragedy and a huge loss for the music business and, of course, the family of those who also perished in this terrible, terrible fiery accident. And I was a huge fan of Aaliyah. And like I said in my last video, I'm very, very new to YouTube. I tried to get you guys some pictures and that just wasn't working out. So I guess I got to go to Geek Squad at Best Buy and have them figure out how do I post these pictures and do voiceovers. So you won't have to look at my face anymore. But I knew that I had to post another video. And next time, I don't know who I'm going to do, so if you can put in the comments who you'd like for me to do, I will definitely take a look at that. And I thank you for tuning in. And I'm Nita B, and this is Inside the Celebrity. And thank you, and I'll see you again.